Welcome to our second series of our September Kona session videos for our gathering. Today we're going to be covering Distance Does Not Dissolve Pilina. So, Manu, would you like to uh, share what kind of topics we're going to explore with this one?
On Friday afternoon, we'll be discussing this, na Kānaka Oiwi in the diaspora. Distance does not dissolve Pilina, which is relationship. And so I just want to throw some stats out there. According to the last OHA census, more than 680,000 people identify as Native Hawaiian or part Native Hawaiian. It is estimated that 55% of the total Kanaka population lives outside of Hawaii, which is approximately 374,000 of us are in the diaspora. And so this is a topic that I feel really needs to be discussed. Distance may physically separate us from our aina, but it does not have to separate us from our pilina or relationship to our aina or our lahui. And I mean, we don't stop being Kanaka because we crossed Moana. One of the great questions of the Kanaka diaspora is whether distance weakens our identity. I believe that while geography changes responsibility, it does not erase relationship. And Pilina has never simply meant proximity to the aina. I think it when we are off aina, it makes us question how we're representing and how deeply we are connected. So, Keʻala, our kupuna, they crossed the Namawana, guided only by the Hoku currents, the Manu, the Opua, and memory. And the ocean was never to us representing any form of isolation or separation. It's every Kanaka you hear speak of our moana was that it always represented connection.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah. And so today, many of us live thousands of miles from home. And for me, I feel relationship can survive geography. I live it. And I think it can actually be strengthened through being away sometimes. So, I think that Pilina isn't maintained through nostalgia. I think it's maintained through intention and practice. And that's why I think Nakoa Foundation, Wāhine Foundation exists. And this is why we're holding these gatherings. So, through nurturing our relationship, it's through our learning our language, using our language, participating in our own personal or group protocol and ceremony, how we serve, how we exemplify reciprocity with one another, with those that are safe, right? Some are just takers, so we have to watch that too. How we teach, if we have the kuleana to teach, and to return as much as possible. I think our uhane knows when it's time to return, that call, that kahea comes, and we eventually start planning our trip to return home to get filled up so that we can leave and then also represent our culture away from the aina. So I also think it's important that we understand that we're not like you there, our boots on the ground, Keʻala. I'm not. I travel to teach the lua, but there's others that are there doing meaningful work in our Kanaka lahui that also deserve to be supported by those that are off aina. So it's something that we can talk about as well. So that's what I have to say about that. There's a lot to say about the diaspora and those that collaborate with those back home, and those that collaborate with those that are in the diaspora. So there's a very unique relationship there, and it can cause some issues at times, but it's really beautiful to see it happening more and more.
It is beautiful. As I personally, for the most part, raised our three children in the diaspora in Oregon mostly. And I think about, I don't know if I'm going to keep this in here or not. I think about the separateness that can exist, between Kanaka who never left and those of us that have had to. I was a child when I first left. I didn't have a choice.
Right.
Um,
Many don't.
yeah, right. And so where there's this disconnect, that I know I have heard and I felt myself from Kānaka in the diaspora on a connection that feels fractured, maybe judged by others who didn't have to leave.
Yeah.
Um, and it makes me sad when I witness words used, against one another, because of this, and it's not always a choice for a lot of people because it is very hard. There's nowhere to live. There's nowhere to rent. I was just looking at rentals here in Kona. There were 18 homes. Yeah, I wasn't looking at apartments, but I was looking at homes. 18, including Waikoloa. So, so if some people do have to go, it's not, and then they're not going to know. Like, I know this because I know how it feels as a child and as an adult because then after I came back home after high school, I left 5 years later to go to college.
Yes.
And it took me 23 years to get back home. And I raised my kids, again, mostly in Oregon. But there was a little fear in coming home too late after my kids were older because I married a haole guy. I've known him since we were 13. So my children are fair. And so I knew if I didn't get them there when they were young, it could be problematic.
Yes.
But so yeah, I don't know if I'm going to include that or not.
That's okay. Go ahead and
Yeah, I'll wrap this up really quick here. So I hope when we discuss, the distance does not dissolve our connection or pilina to here. Yeah, I hope that we come away with some really good topics of discussion to take back home with us, and into the community with our friends and Ohana.